Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead. Greg Soulje is here with us on this Friday to give us a look at what's ahead. Welcome, Greg.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Happy Friday to you and one and all out there on what's going to be a pretty busy one. I've been using the term unseasonably active for, mid-July around here across actually a wide area of the country, especially in our key areas, the northern and central plains and the Corn Belt. And if it's not the rain and the storms, it's the heat for livestock and poultry operations, and humidity already down through the Delta, lower Mississippi Valley, and points on westward. So lots to talk about today.
All right, well, let's get at it. Put your slides up and take it away.
All right, and that's right. Happy Friday on this 18th of July. Summertime moving along a little quicker than the weather guy would like to talk about, but it is what it is. And looks like soil moisture reserves. That's been really the story as it applies to the Midwest. A couple of areas through northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, Indiana, Michigan, a little bit drier, but we've had timely rains and just enough to keep things looking tall and green and waxy and lush, et cetera, so forth and so on. And even in some of the western Corn Belt areas that are a little more, especially Nebraska, that are a little more problematic with dryness and drought, there too, things are looking fantastic. And temperatures really the story here for now, especially over really all of the Corn Belt, northern and central plains are manageable. They're comfortable. No stress or strain on man, beast, nor the back 40. The range today, 70 to the Red River Valley of the North. They were down below 45 a couple of mornings ago up there. And we'll flirt with 90 across the far southern and southwestern Corn Belt. Par for the course, mid-July temperatures there. The showers and thunderstorms are scattered. They're still making their way through Ohio. Flood watches and through the mid-Atlantic region. And they're getting going again. They will at least later on today across the Dakotas, the upper Midwest, as we start with the ring of fire, get some monsoon moisture going, and boy, just a lot of meteorology to talk about here, and no shortage of checking off the box. If this doesn't work, we'll make rain this way. If that doesn't work, we'll make rain this way. I don't see any drought going on right now, at least in the shorter and medium range of things. So the showers and thunderstorms, as mentioned, getting going across the northern and central plains. They'll fill in with scope, coverage, and intensity in the coming days. That will keep pasture lands and summer crops and rangelands in pretty good order, even in some of the drier areas of Nebraska and the Dakotas. We had some organized rains about a week to 10 days ago out of the Dakotas and into Minnesota, and some of those showers and thunderstorms southward. And the earlier summertime weeks have helped out through Nebraska. And I don't think there's anything going on, if I recall right, we'll take a look at in a second, on dryness and drought through Kansas and Oklahoma. But still drier areas, drier rangeland locales across Nebraska and Colorado and North Dakota, 19% through Texas, and about 30 to 32% across parts of the remainder of the Plain States areas, with shortages and or quality of pasture lands and rangelands. 80% of the pasture lands rated good and excellent. That's coming off the wet spring, the wet summer, and Chantel, that tropical system a couple of weeks ago into the mid-Atlantic region. Of course, we have a little tropical doodah system, not named. We talk about it, or have talked about it here in our get-togethers the past week to 10 days. This will bring some big rains and higher humidity levels that are heading northbound into the lower Mississippi Valley Delta region. There are heat advisories and heat warnings, would you believe, where it's always hot and humid, but a little more serious natured, and across the Missouri, Boot Hill, western Kentucky, Tennessee, and south either side of the Mississippi Valley. So heads up on those poultry operations farther south into the lower Mississippi Valley. And across the western states, elevated fire potential, northern Great Basin, Pacific Northwest. There are some fires in Oregon, I believe northern Arizona as well. You get a little moisture going, you build the clouds, you dry out the lower level of the atmosphere. It's a perfect sparking mechanism for lightning, and you get a dry base thunderstorm, you get a lightning strike, and you're off to the races with these fires in some sections of the west and southwestern states. Top soil moisture really lacking. It's been an unusually dry, it normally is, but unusually dry summer season in Oregon and Washington State and Idaho. 65, 70, 72%. Short and very short in topsoil moisture reserves, a little bit better, not as bad, if you will, put it that way, in through Idaho. There is the drought monitor from a couple of days ago, and really over about the eastern half of the country in relatively good shape. There's been some modest localized improvement to dryness and drought through Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. Things are chugging along still in relatively good order. Big improvement through Iowa, much of Missouri. Kansas kind of worsening a little bit along the Nebraska border, and some areas of the western and northwestern Corn Belt have improved as well. It's really Montana, the high plains areas and through the Rockies, and of course down through the Rio Grande and the southwestern states where the monsoon setup continues to be pretty impressive through Arizona, New Mexico. And there may be rain in Southern California next week, folks. Who says it doesn't rain out there? But the Imperial Valley may get into a couple of showers and thunderstorms, kind of an unusual setup out there, monsoon moisture, and kind of a little renegade system coming in off the Pacific. The National Weather Service, the Feds put together a seasonal drought outlook. This snuck into the weather office a couple of days ago and really continues to back up what Sarah and I have been talking about here the past couple of months, several, I don't know how long it's been, but still not on board with anything Armageddon-ish in the dryness and drought mode. I think when it does trend drier, it'll be short-lived and be of benefit come harvest season on what should be an early and often harvest season down the line. So there's the outlook. Improvement through northern Illinois, the southern Great Lakes region, holding its own, little worsening into the western Corn Belt. No real significant change across the west. Maybe some improvement down through New Mexico and Arizona. That will be because of those torrential downpour producing flash flood generating monsoon showers and thunderstorms in what is their mid-peak rainy season in the southwestern part of the country. A little more of a close-up look at the Midwest, and you can see some pockets in Will County, Illinois, and Kankakee, and parts of Iroquois counties and Champaign County. They're a little drier than I'd like to see down there, but from talking with our radio pals down there, we're down there each and every weekday morning at a bunch of radio stations. They're holding their own. They're in good shape, good stands, not much wilting going on, but then again, it hasn't been terribly hot, and there's a lot of rain coming that way and across a wide area of the northern plains and Corn Belt locales going forward, at least in the shorter term of it all, and probably over the next couple of 2 or 3 weeks for that matter. But it's this time of the year. It was the Farm Futures folks, not Prairie Farmer, but the Farm Futures folks that put out a nice article a few days ago about it's the green snap lodging time of the year. When you get rain, sometimes you get just enough to settle the dust. You pay the price with hail and high wind. And we've got a pretty good wind signature up aloft that kind of tells us when the organized rains get going, the severe stuff gets going. And I think we got to keep an eye on that D word, the derecho thing getting going as we get going here the next 5 to 7 days. Friday afternoon, a couple of showers and thunderstorms into the Ohio Valley. They're reorganizing across the Dakota Territory. They'll drop into the upper Midwest later on tonight, upper Mississippi Valley to the Twins, and they have been well watered down there over the past week to 10 days. Scattered showers and thunderstorms along that boundary you can see across Missouri into the Ohio Valley. That separates very comfortable mid-July air versus building heat and just absolutely oppressive humidity. If you wanted to know what it feels like down the Caribbean islands on an each and every day basis during the summertime and warmer season, you'll get it here coming forward from south to north over the weekend and much of next week as well. There are the rains. They're getting going. They're coming out of the western Corn Belt through Illinois, Wisconsin, and Indiana, and Ohio in the morning. They'll probably redevelop in the afternoon and evening time in the same areas, shift to the east and southeast, and then you see another round getting going in the darker shades of green through the Dakotas. Big Sky Country. Good news there. They will continue their move to the east and southeast. The atmosphere over a good part of the southern plains is capped, too warm. You think you can make clouds in the heat and humidity, but it's equally, if you were relatively warm, up aloft. So you can't get anything going in the southern plains. And so that becomes a little more of a problem going forward here over the next 5 to 10 to maybe 15 days down there. Scattered showers, thunderstorms over the southeastern states. And let's see, the front is still there. The activity is still building across the Dakotas even by Sunday morning, and we'll be on the move from northwest to southeast. The next 48 hours will be the first of several rounds of drenching rainfall coming out of the upper Midwest down through Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin. Remember the drought areas we talked about through Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan? What drought? That's probably going to be saying that in the next week to 10 days. And a fair shake for moisture over the rest of the Corn Belt. Even the Plain States areas, we're going to get a little tongue of moisture to come out of the monsoon setup over the southwest, break the cap at some point late in the weekend, and get some organized rains where it's probably time to rain in Oklahoma and Texas. So the beat goes on there for pasture lands, range lands, some easing of temperatures. Humidity, though, levels will be off the charts. The next 24 hours from a severe weather standpoint, out towards the Sioux Empire region, Corn Palace region, the northwestern, western Corn Belt locales, and around the nation's capital, into the Mid-Atlantic region, where Max has reported that the dryness and drought has eased and ended, and they are well watered down out there in the Carolinas, coming off dryness and drought last winter and early on into the springtime season. Then by tomorrow, widespread severe weather potential: Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, back east across Indiana and Ohio. So stay heads up if you have outdoor activities, and the likelihood of some severe weather and weather watches and warnings going forward for this weekend, probably on two levels: flash flood potential and severe weather potential, even in some of the drier areas of the Midwest. There's the satellite picture from this morning, a yawner. Still, you can see some cloudiness across the central Gulf Coast. There ain't nothing coming off the African coast. You get down to the bottom right part of the frame. That's the part of the intertropical convergence zone. Ought to be brilliant, lit up, lots of white cloud tops. There isn't. So we still think there is an El Nino still underway, and there's still some other parameters getting in the way of what was to have been an early and often ramped up start to the tropical weather season. We will get into kind of a compacted, active one, but I still think we're probably a good month away from getting that going. So that's mid to late August before things get cranked up. Nothing going on in the tropics over the next 7 days as well across the Atlantic basin. So going forward, that western and southwestern heat, it's on the move. And then when tropical systems, albeit it wasn't a named one, come ashore, the one that came down through Louisiana, we're going to build high pressure up aloft there too. The sinking air, and you undercut it with all this humidity and moisture, it's just going to be absolutely oppressive. So the western heat, the southern heat builds northward in the next 5 days. Widespread 100-degree heat. And we've got kind of a modeling look of some of the temperatures just for our talk here that goes forward over next week on temperatures are a little bit conservative. But at the same time, if we can get some cloud cover going, that'll ease temperatures. But I tell you, it's just going to be thicker than anything. You can cut that air with a knife probably at some point over the weekend and next week across the middle part of the country. Again, we talk about a lot about the Corn Belt, but this will also apply to many central and southern plains, Dixie, lower Mississippi Valley, Delta region, et cetera, so forth and so on for livestock and poultry operations there. The dark green, big rain events over the next several days through the heart of the Corn Belt, and heat at the same time. So these storms, when they get going, they will be explosive in development, and more rain too across some of the drought areas that are winding down into northern and central Florida. There is your ribbon of moisture the next 5 to 7 days. Canadian Prairie, the Dakotas, through much of the northwestern, western, central, eastern and southeastern Corn Belt. You can see a little more capped off limited rainfall potential out of Oklahoma and Texas once we get past the next 48 hours, all the way down across the Gulf Coast and Mid-Atlantic region. That is a fur piece of what at times will be these derecho driven. And I think the better event for that is shaping up probably in middle to late parts of next week. But some of these boat out echoes or these storms that recur, repeat, training effect one after another. That's how you come up with those prolific rainfall totals. So just watch the high. That's what you got to watch out for. That's a 594 high. Commodity guys know what that means, and traders and even the livestock guys as well know that what that means. That is just absolutely a mound of air sinking. And then on the backside of the high, you can see a little streamline coming up through Texas and Oklahoma. That's a little weakness in that current. Just get one thunderstorm going and you'll be off to the races there. And that is just absolutely deep, top to bottom. You could probably wring out 4 or 5 inches of rain if you were to take the entire column of the atmosphere and bring it down all at once in one particular location. So we are ramped up, juiced up for explosive development. The hot high is there through Thursday and Friday, and you can see that ribbon of air strengthening, dropping a little further south. That's our concern next week, that the hot high moves to the west. Jet stream winds come in contact with that moisture. That's a faster ribbon of air. You lift the air, you move those storms along, lickety-split, and hence there's your derecho possibility and probability next week across some of the northern and eastern Corn Belt areas. Frontal boundaries are there. Not much. They kind of lose their identity, generally speaking, this time of the year. But you can see one kind of waffling back and forth across the northern plains, Great Lakes between Monday and Wednesday and Friday. Each time it moves, you make showers and thunderstorms. On the somewhat cooler side, you get overrunning, more downpour-producing steady rains. And south of that little hatched area of blue and red, and that's the heat. And that's where the storms tend to get violent and make their way wherever they want to go to the east and southeast in the coming days. Here are these temperatures quickly. Monday, low to mid 90s and some mid and upper 90s west and south of the Missouri. Here is the outlook for Tuesday next week. Again, these might be a little on the conservative side, and away from the Great Lakes shorelines. Readings, again, wide ranging, low to mid, in some spots mid and upper 90s. There is the Wednesday outlook. The heat is widespread through the Corn Belt. Some cooling across the Dakotas and some drop off of temperatures across the northwestern part of the Corn Belt, northern plains. The heat continues on the Great Plains, points east and south any direction across the Midwest and down through Dixie as well. Those poultry operations are going to be struggling with 100-degree heat by day. And overnight lows, this is a Wednesday panel. And again, might be a little bit conservative, 75 to 80-degree lows. Those corn and soybean fields are just going to absolutely cook through the night. I think there is talk that when that happens on a regular basis, you begin to lose yield potential. The plant itself can't keep up with the moisture intake. It can get moisture, it'll have moisture, but it's fighting, no cooling or resting period is my limited knowledge nomenclature on the physiology of corn and soybean fields at night. There might be someone much smarter than I in that particular department, and it'll be tough for a man and beast as well if you don't have the air conditioner going full tilt. 6 to 10 day outlook. There's the hot high middle part of the country. Jet stream winds are on top. That hot high, and by our estimate, and we'll talk about it on this weekend's the edition of This Week in Agribusiness. It is on the move to the west. That just brings those winds over the top of the ridge south and eastward. So there is a tendency for some drier weather end part of the month across the southern and western Corn Belt, definitely into the central and southern plains. The heat continues on the next 6 to 10 days. That's triple-digit readings in some spot, but it might be tempered where we get rain-cooled air, thunderstorms that come through at night. We get that cloud cover, that cloud canopy. So this is a little more broad brush, but I think it's a little bit overdone. I think there's going to be more in the way of cloudiness kind of corrupting and muddying up the temperature field with time. 6 to 10 day outlook, pretty much on target. With time, I think we'll be moving back into a short-term drier weather pattern end part of the month, beginning part of August. We'll have that outlook. And on This Week in Agribusiness, by the way, with Mr. Armstrong in town off his tractor. And Wednesday, you and I get together, Sarah, for the 30-minute, maybe at least 30 minutes. There's going to be a lot to talk about. Live stream on the 23rd at 1 o'clock Central Time. Rest of the summer into the autumn. Got some thoughts. We'll probably just put them in bullet fashion on what we're thinking about for the very early or late autumn, early winter season. But I think it will be an early and often attack out there in the back 40 with harvest operations in mind this time of the year.
Very good. All right. Lots to, I don't know, look forward to, but lots happening out there, let's say.
Lots to digest, lots going on. The wise livestock rancher person, all that, keeps an eye on their phone. The weather guy right here, those NOAA weather radios, they might be old school, but they still work. When those warnings go out, they go out on the radio, on an airwave and an alarm system. So another good thing to have if you happen to have that. That's another good way to stay up to date on weather. So yeah, lots to talk about, lots going on, and at least it's going to rain. I don't know how else to spin it. You're going to get rain. Too much of it, maybe, but you're going to get rain.
Need some rain around here, but we don't need too much of it.
No.
But we will check back in with you on Tuesday for an update. And then actually we have you on Wednesday, as you mentioned, for that longer term update of what's ahead for the rest of this summer, going into fall, give some insight there as well. And then we'll be back around with you on Friday. So we're here to keep you all informed. And then This Week in Agribusiness every weekend, our TV show on RFD TV and another number of affiliated stations.
120, I believe it is. And
I think you're right. That's what I've heard.
And a slew of radio stations. Max Armstrong even heard me on the radio in one particular spot in Illinois a few days ago. So nice to have his feedback on that too.
Very good. All right, Greg, we will touch base with you next week. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you all for tuning in as well.
Have a good weekend.